Alright everyone, we start off today talking about the very likely embezzlement scandal involving one of BLM's co-founders, of course. Her name is Patrice Cullors, maybe mispronouncing the last name, and she has several homes totaling like $1.5 million or something, including one that she just purchased in LA County, and people are wondering where she got the money from it. Now, if you're associated with such a movement, you can do the speaking fees, book fees, and stuff thing, and you can clean up. But it seems that's a fairly excessive amount of money for a couple of years of doing that. And even BLM's current leaders are like, they're realizing that it's a PR crisis, and they're looking askance at this and demanding an investigation. Breonna Taylor's mom just called her out over this. So, I mean, her grift effectively at this point, I guess, ends. But it's very, very lucrative in general. But we're going to go past just BLM and the obvious grifting that happens there, because that's just a microcosm of a far, far bigger thing. First and foremost, though, if you're watching this video on YouTube, keep in mind there will be a pinned comment down below with links to 4 other video hosting sites that I use. YouTube is now basically abusing most of its users because of the priority status algorithmic thing that it does. So, I mean, at some point the writing's on the wall. YouTube either isn't going to throw you any bones or might just outright can you, so you might as well use other sites. That's why I make 2 videos a day, just not on YouTube. So if you're not joining me on one of those 4 sites at least, you're only getting half your daily clank. It's a very, very sad thing to do. Anyway, the grifting. The pretense of being woke. Because the BLM co-founder, they're all a bunch of Marxists that created an organization that apparently, no longer allegedly, made them quite rich. Or at least this individual. I'm sure that none of the others ever sold speaking fees or did a tour. Anyway, that's just minor. When we're talking about one person grifting to the tune of maybe a few $1 million, well, okay, well, that's grifting. But we'll look at what the corporations are doing. I find it funny that literally nobody appears to notice this is exactly what like Nike and Coca-Cola are doing at the moment. You pretend to be woke, you throw some money at a cause, and you get a huge return off of that without having to change any of your own behavior. This happens with every form of activism. This is why activism really is dumb when you think about it. Activism initially usually starts off for ideological reasons. You get a bunch of people and they're like, well, we're going to form an environmental corps. We're going to go around and we're going to plant trees and pick up trash. That's excellent. The problem is that at some point someone comes in and very helpfully, this is what Bill Weld did to the Libertarian Party, by the way, which is why the Libertarian Party at the moment sucks, teaches them how to make more money. Ah, they say, as they schmooze in with you, very, very sly, very suave and slicked back. You know, you're raising money for cancer kids. You're raising money for plant trees. You're raising, you know, why don't you allow me to sponsor you a bit? We'll have a business group. They'll give advice and stuff. We'll set up a management team. And pretty soon, before you know it, a bunch of people are lining their pockets. You're making more money. Yeah, okay, instead of planting 100 trees, you're now planting 1,000. But the efficiency of planting those trees is now abysmal. 90% of your costs are going to something else. BLM's fundraising, by and large, goes to pay a bunch of people and for political PACs and shit like that. It doesn't even... You think that they're starting soup kitchens in the inner city? Apparently, these people don't even live in the ghetto. They're getting called out even by other black people at this point, and I don't blame them. And we've seen this before. Al Sharpton's made a career of this. Jesse Jackson made a career of this. And it's not just limited to people of color. No, David Duke made a career out of this. What the hell has he accomplished in his whole fucking life? Pretending to speak for white people in a general sense. He briefly held one political office, and that's basically it. He's known for being known. He's known for having a certain ideology and managing to make ends meet, despite the fact that he probably couldn't hold a 9-to-5. He's managed to make a career out of it. Well, I mean, everyone's got to make a living, I guess, but it's kind of the same basic principle now, isn't it? At the end of the day, this, though, when you're talking about individuals, if you're talking about a Duke or a Sharpton or this person from BLM, that's just tiny. Look at the grifting that goes on at the higher level. Corporations are the key grifters, and the government does this too. We're seeing this out of the Biden administration. Well, look, I've got the most diverse cabinet in history. So just don't take a look at all of the corruption enveloping my administration. I've got a diverse cabinet. Hey, Mr. President, why are there a fucking million kids crowded in these detention centers on the border? Don't worry, I have a Hispanic person on my team that I'll send down to the border to look into that. Mr. President, poverty is up in the inner cities, crime is up, inner city gangs are shooting more people. I've got black people on my staff. Don't worry, I'll send them in. By the way, did I mention that I was Obama's VP? It's fucking grifting. It's the biggest sham, the biggest scam, and the MSM, by the way, loves it too. By the way, they're hoping right now that Minnesota burns to the ground after the Derek Chauvin trial thing goes through. They're hoping that happens. They love this sort of thing. Not only do they prop the groups up, and of course the money changes hands in both directions, but then when you have something like this, then they get to report on it and it's funny. Oh, well, it's tabloid-esque, but it's an A-grade story. There's more clickbait. Things go right, things go wrong, it doesn't matter so long as the MSM is making a buck. They tend to make more bucks when things go wrong, but trust me, they would never attempt to cause that to happen. They've got nobility and shit. Even while they openly admit to Veritas that they're spewing out propaganda, causing James O'Keefe to get banned off of Twitter. It's lucrative, though, to pretend to be woke. Like, if I wanted to make money, and I don't mean make a living, if I wanted to be rich, I would do a 180 right now in my career. And I would say, oh, Jesus, I want to atone. Everyone, I need to atone for the sins of my past. I've seen the light. Fuck the right wing. It's just not happening anymore. We really need to restructure things. The Trump thing was a joke. I would pretend to be reformed, and then I'd write a book about it, go on a lecture circuit or something. You make out like a bandit, especially because the people that absorb that kind of craptivistic bullshit tend to be lemmings that have loose pockets. More money than sense, in other words. Pardoning the pun there, of course. It tends to happen. The BLM, at large, though, and this is also getting lost in the analysis here, because BLM's current staff are calling this individual out, people are not seeing past their own grift, which is that BLM always was. It's just that a different group of people now are the ones that are grabbing up that money. Now, that doesn't mean they're all, stealing from the coffers like Judas or something like that, but you can expect it goes on. Organizations fundamentally can't exist unless there's some sort of profit. You can have a non-profit if you're just taking in money and you're managing to balance things on a zero-sum basis. That's possible to do, although difficult. But by and large, these groups are not non-profits. They're not a registered non-profit. I don't think you can donate money to BLM's co-founder and get a tax write-off, so to speak. It's grifting. It's opportunism. Whenever you go from doing... The real way to do activism is, I've identified a problem and I'm going to go do something about it. Deforestation is a problem. Well, I planted a bunch of trees on my property. I got rid of my shitty monocultured lawn and made a food forest. Activism is, this racial demographic is disappearing. Well, then I've caused them to have more children in some way. That's activism. Craptivism is, there's deforestation. Well, I just gave $100 to this group that I'm never going to even see their work. I'm just trusting them to take that money and use some of it to plant trees. But they have to make a living, so it's like 10 cents on the dollar. I want other people to handle the problem. I want the government to save me. That's a craptivism. Signing a fucking change.org petition and shit like that, that's craptivism. You're not getting up your ass and actually doing something meaningful. You're just going through the motions. BLM does nothing meaningful. They have accomplished literally nothing. Think about it, how long BLM has been there. Under the middle of the Obama admin, BLM sort of explodes onto the front page. They have a decade to do everything they want to do, and they don't do anything. They have accomplished zero, jack shit, except apparently to make some of their literal Marxist, self-proclaimed co-founders fantastically wealthy. That's about all. Peace out.